Hi everyone, my name's Alyssa Harris, and right now I'm about to do a video, more like a story time on my worst experiences while in an interracial relationship. So, I've been with my husband for 15 years, and he is African American and Native American. So, we've had our moments over the years where people have treated us very badly because they don't agree with the fact that we are in an interracial relationship. So I've written down four stories that kind of like really hit home. Like some are really, like I consider them really bad, and some are like meh, like expected. Um, it sucks that it is like expected, like when you do start a relationship like mine, but there are going to be people that are very upset about it. Unfortunately, the world is not that open-minded yet. Um, so my first story or explanation was dating. So when we first started dating, um, I think a lot more people like got upset with us like in the beginning. Like as we got older, it's gotten more intense, but very few and far between. When we were younger, like I experienced hate like all the time, like at my job, at school. All most of the hate came from white men because they could not accept that I chose to be with a black man. They thought white men weren't good enough for me. They always like it got abusive. Like they would throw things at me, hit me. Like they never said anything to my husband, but like if I was alone in class or alone at work, like they would harass me all the time. Cause I'm a girl. Like if I did fight them, it's not like I could do much damage. Like why go talk to my husband? He's 6'2". Like he would have definitely put him in. Well, he wouldn't have because he's laid back, but he looks intimidating. Like he looks like he'd put you in your place. So yeah, like I was attacked all the time because they couldn't accept it. Like I fell in love with my husband Tavon, and like it didn't have anything to do with his skin color. Like that would have never been a factor for me. But they took it very personal that like I was just so against dating white men or my own race, whatever. Like it was horrible. Okay, so moving on. My second one that I wrote down was the restaurant. Okay, so like this has happened a couple times, but like one time, like it was really bad because like it was the first time. So like we didn't get the hint straight away. So we go into this restaurant and we're on a date, and we'd been together like 4 years by now. But like this is the first time this has happened, and it was in our community. And 4 years in, like most of the community knew we were together, and a lot of them had started letting it go. Like they accepted it. Like we were good members of the community. We participated in charities and food drives and like walks for life and stuff like that. Like we were good members of the community. They grew to like recognize us, knew we weren't criminals or like bad people. But this restaurant was in our hometown. And we had went in and we were standing there like I think 15 minutes in, I was like, where's the waitress? Like why isn't anyone sitting us down? Like half an hour in, like we seen the waitress like sitting down other people and like wouldn't even acknowledge we were there. Walked up to the counter, like cooks, restaurant owner, like everybody, like they wouldn't even look at us. Like it was like we were invisible. And we're like, okay, like then it clicked. Like, okay, like they're refusing to serve us because they don't agree with our relationship at all. So we had finally left. When we started walking out, like we could hear the mumbling behind us. Like some guy in the kitchen yelled something. Like again, like nobody says it like to my husband's face. It it was like people are cruel, and we were young. Like 4 years in, we were 19. Like it was like so. My third story. Okay, so this one like, it's not my fourth. Like, I put my fourth as my worst, but this one was the most emotional for me. The first time we got pregnant, we were 19. Um, we had started trying to get pregnant like as soon as I turned 17 because we figured by the time I had the baby I'd be 18 because when I was 16 I got diagnosed with cervical cancer. And at that point they told me that it like they had removed some tissue and they said this is something that's going to keep coming back like based on how well you take care of yourself. And pretty much like if I didn't take good care of myself, like I'd have a hysterectomy when I was 30. So we started trying like immediately, like when we were 17. Like it took years, like 2 years, and finally when we were 19, we got pregnant. Like we were ecstatic and excited and happy and like ran out and bought baby clothes. Like 8 weeks pregnant, and we're out shopping for baby clothes. Like we got them in yellow because we didn't know what we were having. So I ended up losing the baby. So one morning I woke up and I was covered in blood and I went to the bathroom and just blood everywhere. Like finally went to the emergency room. It was like 4 in the morning. Like got in the emergency room and like the nurses were kind, like cuz they were women, they could relate like this is something horrible happening to you. The doctor came in and he didn't explain anything that was really happening, like why it was happening, how it happened. Just, you're not having a baby because you are not meant to breed with each other. I don't think there's even any science behind that, but yeah, like you lost your baby because you guys are not meant to breed. I was like, and that's how you breed, like we were animals. So I was falling apart. Like I was so much falling apart that like I didn't even cuss the doctor out. Like my older self now, I'm 29. Like I should have cussed him out. I probably should have punched him in the face. I would have went to jail, but it would have been so worth it because that hurt. And like later on when I was at home, like I think it was a few days later, like it really registered. Like this man told me like we lost our baby because we weren't meant to breed. And it took us another 4 years before we finally had our first son. So that's story number 3. Like, again, like, this is a cruel world, and you deal with this kind of stuff when you choose to date outside your race. It shouldn't be like that. In some cities, it's not as bad. Like, we came from a tiny city where it was mostly white people, and they were pissed. So the fourth one I wrote down is our wedding. Um, and it surprises me that this happened because we had went to a bigger city to get married, and usually in bigger cities people are more open-minded, but I put this as number 4 because it's most recent and like again like it's all ridiculous, all of this stuff that's happened. So we were getting married. I'm a Baptist and he's a Jehovah's Witness. So we had decided against getting married at a church. Like we didn't even really belong, like he belonged to a hall, but I didn't belong to a church. So like we couldn't really ask like his pastor or whom it is like to marry us, and I didn't have anyone to ask. So we went online and found like an ordained minister. Um and we got married at this atrium, this gardens place. I'm not gonna name it, but like we had a wedding there. So we went and interviewed with this ordained minister, and like immediately like we said like I didn't think when I emailed him I had to explain like our races. Like this was a few like it hadn't been an issue for like a few years. So I don't know. We met with him, and immediately he told us, I refuse to marry you because I do not agree with your relationship. I don't agree that you are like dating, having an interracial relationship, and I'm not going to marry you. And he had went on like trying to like scold us for our decision. We got married when we were 26, so we had already been together for 11 years at that point. Um, so he had went on like trying to like berate us and scold us. And we had both of our kids by this point too. So I'm like, the relationship's established. Like, whatever you say isn't going to end that. I caught on like quicker. Like, my husband's really polite. Like, he's huge, but like he's like a teddy bear. So he was trying to like be polite and like nod and pretend like he's listening. And I'm like, no, like you need to realize like this guy is talking down to us. Like he's not trying to help us. Like he is scolding us for what we're doing, like our relationship. So I grabbed my husband's hand and I booked it out of there. Like I might have cussed at the guy a little bit. Like he definitely deserved it, but like we just walked out. Um like I didn't write down all the incidences that I've had like in the years we've been together. But like this is like a few that really stuck out to me because of like the timeline. Like when we were young and first together, everyone was mad. Again when we were young and going on a date, like people were mad. And when we had our miscarriage, like the doctor was horrible. And when we decided to get married, like just people not being supportive. And it's sad that there are so many more incidences than this. And I wish it wasn't like this, but these are just some of the things you deal with. Um, I guess intensity differs depending on the city you live in. Like smaller cities are a lot worse. Bigger cities are a little better. And again, like we came from up north and like now we're living down south. So it all depends on like where you are and what city you're in. Like no two cities are the same. No two big cities are the same. It's all different, but there's hate everywhere. Um that's all for now. I hope you guys enjoyed my little story time. And I'm sorry for those who can relate.